Emma Thompson's day started like any other at the Galactic Medical Academy. She walked through the gleaming white halls, nodding to aliens of different shapes and sizes. Some had blue skin, others had 4 arms, and a few even floated instead of walking. After 5 years at the academy, none of this seemed strange to her anymore. Today, she had to give a lecture about human cells to a class of alien medical students. She carried her favorite microscope in one hand and a case of human tissue samples in the other. These samples were special. They came from her own body. The lecture hall was already full when she arrived. 50 alien students sat in rows that went up like stairs. Some were taking notes on tablets, while others watched her with all their eyes. Some had as many as 8. "Today, we're going to learn about human cell structure," Emma said with a smile. She could see Dr. Blue, her Centaurian supervisor, standing in the back of the room. His sky-colored skin glowed softly as he nodded in approval. Emma set up her equipment and placed the first sample under the microscope. The image appeared on the big screen behind her, showing healthy human skin cells. The alien students made sounds of interest, clicks, whistles, and soft humming. "As you can see," Emma continued, "human cells are different from most galactic species. Our cell walls air." A loud bang cut her off. One of the sample containers had cracked. Before Emma could step back, it exploded. Sharp pieces of glass flew everywhere. She felt something hit her right arm. Then hot pain shot through her body. The room erupted in chaos. Students jumped from their seats, some letting out high-pitched screams in their native languages. Through the pain and confusion, Emma looked down at her right arm, or where it used to be. The explosion had cut it off just below the shoulder. Dr. Blue rushed forward, his usual blue color turning pale. "Medical emergency in Lecture Hall 7. He shouted into his communicator. "Human injury. Bring emergency equipment for species type 458. Emma felt strangely calm as she watched her blood drip onto the clean white floor. Her medical training kicked in, and she knew she needed to stay conscious. "Pressure," she managed to say. "Need pressure on the wound." A student named Tom, one of the few other humans at the academy, took off his white coat and pressed it against what remained of her arm. The white fabric quickly turned red. The emergency team arrived in less than 2 minutes. They looked confused when they saw her injury. Most of them had never treated a human before. Alien bodies were so different. Some could regrow lost limbs naturally, others had backup organs, and a few could even survive without blood. "The human heart is in the chest," Emma said weakly, trying to help them. "Blood pressure will drop. Need to." She couldn't finish her sentence. The room was spinning now. She heard Dr. Blue giving orders. "Contact Earth Medical immediately. We need human doctors." The last thing Emma saw before passing out was the worried faces of her students. Some had all their eyes closed, others were turning different colors with stress, and a few were already taking notes about human emergency responses. When she woke up hours later in the medical bay, Dr. Jack Miller from Earth was standing over her. His familiar human face was a welcome sight among all the alien medical equipment. "You gave everyone quite a scare," he said, checking her vital signs. "The Academy's equipment wasn't designed for human injuries. We had to improvise." Emma tried to move her right arm, then remembered it wasn't there anymore. "How bad is it?" "Clean cut," Jack said. "Once you're stable, we can talk about prosthetics." The aliens are fascinated. They've never seen a major human injury before. Dr. Blue has already started writing a paper about it. Emma managed a small laugh, which made her shoulder hurt. Always the scientist, even in an emergency. What neither of them knew then was that this accident would change galactic medicine forever. In the coming weeks, Emma's body would do something that would shock the entire medical community and force every alien doctor to question everything they thought they knew about biology. But for now, she just needed to rest. 2 weeks after the accident, Emma sat in her quarters at the Galactic Medical Academy, staring at the empty space where her right arm used to be. The doctors had wrapped the wound neatly, and the pain had mostly gone away. She was getting used to doing things with her left hand, though she still dropped her coffee mug sometimes. That morning, something felt different. At first, she thought it was just an itch, the kind that phantom limbs sometimes get. But this feeling was stronger, like tiny electric sparks where her arm had been cut off. Emma reached for her tablet with her left hand and made a voice note. Day 14 after accident. Strange tingling sensation at wound site. Time, 9:30 a.m. She had been making notes every day, mostly out of habit as a scientist. The aliens were very interested in how humans healed, and she wanted to document everything properly. Later that day, she went to see Dr. Jack Miller for her regular checkup. The human doctor was reviewing some scans when she walked in. "How are you feeling today, Emma?" Jack asked, looking up from his screen. "Something's different," she said. "The wound site feels strange, like it's buzzing." Jack frowned and walked over to examine her shoulder. When he removed the bandage, his eyes went wide. "This is impossible." "What is it?" Emma tried to look, but couldn't see well from her angle. "There's new tissue growth," Jack said, his voice filled with disbelief. "Not just normal healing. It looks like, well, look for yourself." He held up a mirror. Emma's mouth fell open. Where there had been a flat, sealed wound, she now saw pink, fresh tissue pushing outward. It looked alive and active, almost like. "It's regenerating," she whispered. Jack quickly took samples and pictures. He ran 3 different scans, each showing the same thing. New bone, muscle, and skin cells were forming where there should only have been scar tissue. "We need to tell Dr. Blue," Emma said. But when they showed the scans to the Centaurian doctor, he shook his head. His blue skin rippled with doubt. "Impossible," Dr. Blue said, all 4 of his eyes blinking in sequence. "Humans don't regenerate limbs. No sentient species can regrow complex structures like arms. Even our most advanced medical techniques can't do that." "Then how do you explain this?" Jack pointed to the scans. "Look at the cell growth patterns. This isn't normal healing." Dr. Blue studied the images more closely. "Perhaps your equipment is malfunctioning. Or maybe it's some kind of infection causing swelling." Emma stood up. "Then let's prove it. Put cameras in my quarters. Record everything. Document the process." That night, the Academy's best monitoring equipment was installed in Emma's room. Cameras that could see through walls watched her wound site. Sensors measured every change in her body chemistry. The aliens were thorough. They wanted to prove this was a mistake. But it wasn't a mistake. The next morning, the footage showed clear signs of growth. By evening, there was a small bump where her arm used to be. The alien doctors watched the recordings over and over, unable to believe their eyes. Word spread quickly through the academy. Students started gathering outside Emma's quarters, hoping to see this miracle of human biology. Some offered to help with research, while others just wanted to watch. Dr. Blue called an emergency meeting of the medical staff. "If this is real," he said, his skin glowing with excitement, "everything we know about tissue regeneration is wrong. Everything we teach in our medical schools might need to change." Emma sat in her quarters that evening, watching the small bump that would someday be her new arm. She thought about all the medical textbooks that would need to be rewritten, all the theories that would have to change. Her tablet buzzed. It was a message from Earth. Other doctors were reporting similar cases. Humans regrowing fingers, toes, even parts of organs. The cases had been kept quiet because nobody believed them. Until now. As she got ready for bed, Emma made one final voice note. Day 15 after accident. Message to future medical students: never assume anything is impossible. The universe is full of surprises, and humans might be the biggest surprise of all. The news of Emma's regenerating arm spread through the Galactic Medical Academy like wildfire. Within days, Dr. Blue had put together the largest research team in the Academy's history. Doctors and students from 17 different alien species wanted to watch this miracle of human biology. Emma's quarters now looked more like a research lab than a bedroom. Screens covered the walls, showing everything from her heart rate to the tiniest changes in her cell structure. The growing arm was now the size of a small melon, with clear signs of forming bone and muscle. "Look at this," said Tom, the human medical student who had helped Emma after the accident. He pointed to one of the screens. "The new cells are growing twice as fast as yesterday." Dr. Blue floated near the ceiling, all four of his eyes fixed on the data. His blue skin glowed brighter when he got excited, and today he was practically lighting up the room. "The regeneration is following a pattern we've never seen before," he said. "It's not just copying the old arm, it's building a better one." Emma sat on her bed, watching the aliens watch her. Some took notes on tablets, others recorded everything with their personal devices, and a few just stared with their many eyes. She felt like the most interesting exhibit in a zoo. "Can you feel anything?" asked a young Martian doctor named Pete. His red scales shimmered as he leaned closer to look at the growing arm. "It feels warm," Emma said. "And sometimes it itches like crazy. Yesterday I could move the finger buds." To show them, she focused on her new arm. The small bumps that would become fingers twitched slightly. The room filled with excited clicks, whistles, and hums, the sounds aliens made when they were amazed. Dr. Jack Miller walked in, carrying a large file of papers. "You're not going to believe this," he said. "I've been talking to doctors back on Earth. Turns out this isn't as rare as we thought. There are at least 50 documented cases of partial regeneration in humans." The room went quiet. Even the machines seemed to beep more softly. 50 cases. Dr. Blue's glow dimmed a little. "Why didn't we know about this?" "Because nobody believed them," Jack said. "Most doctors thought the patients were lying or the records were wrong. Some cases were kept secret because people were afraid of being called freaks. But now that Emma's case is being properly documented," he spread the papers on Emma's desk. They showed pictures of regrown fingers, toes, and even part of a liver. Each case had been dismissed or hidden away, but together they told an amazing story. Humans could heal in ways that medical science had thought impossible. A young alien student raised one of her 6 hands. "But why didn't humans tell the galactic medical community about this?" Emma laughed. "Would you have believed us? You didn't even believe it when you saw it happening right in front of you." Dr. Blue moved down from the ceiling to look at the Earth records. "All our medical textbooks say this is impossible. All our theories about tissue repair say it can't be done. But here it is, happening right in front of us." The regeneration was speeding up now. Everyone could see the arm getting bigger by the hour. The fingers were almost fully formed, and Emma could move them more each day. Skin was growing over the new muscles, and she was starting to feel sensations like heat and cold. That evening, after most of the observers had left, Emma made her daily video log. She held up her growing arm to the camera and smiled. "Day 45 after the accident," she said. "Today I learned something interesting. Sometimes the most important discoveries happen because someone finally pays attention to something they've been told is impossible." She looked at her new arm, wiggled her half-formed fingers, and added, "I wonder what other impossible things humans can do that we just haven't noticed yet." Outside her window, the 3 moons of the medical station rose into the night sky, casting different colored lights across the academy. Somewhere in the building, alien doctors were rewriting everything they thought they knew about healing. And this was just the beginning. The day started with a crash in the academy's library. An alien student had dropped an entire shelf of medical textbooks on the floor, but instead of picking them up, she just stared at them. "These are all wrong now," she said to her classmates. "Everything they say about tissue repair and healing, it's all wrong." She wasn't the only one having this realization. All across the Galactic Medical Academy, doctors were questioning everything they had learned about healing. Emma's regenerating arm had turned their medical knowledge upside down. Dr. Blue called an emergency meeting in the main lecture hall. The room was packed with doctors, students, and researchers from every corner of the galaxy. Some had traveled for days just to be there. "We need new textbooks," Dr. Blue announced, his blue skin glowing softly. "New theories, new everything. And for that, we need help from Earth." Right on cue, the main doors opened. A tall human man walked in, carrying an old-fashioned leather briefcase. This was Dr. Robert Wilson, Earth's leading expert on regeneration. He had studied every known case of human tissue regrowth for the past 20 years. "Good morning," he said, walking to the front of the room. "I hear you've discovered something interesting about humans." The alien doctors leaned forward in their seats. Some extended their eye stalks to see better. Others activated their recording devices. "For years, we thought these cases were mistakes or miracles," Dr. Wilson continued. "But now, thanks to Dr. Thompson's well-documented regeneration, we can finally study this properly." He opened his briefcase and pulled out a thick stack of files. "These are all the cases we've collected. Not just arms and legs, but organs too. Small parts at first, but they're getting bigger. It's like our bodies are remembering how to do something they forgot long ago." Emma sat in the front row, her new arm now almost fully grown. She could move all her fingers, and the skin was looking more normal every day. Dr. Wilson used her case to show how human regeneration worked. "The cells don't just copy the old pattern," he explained. "They improve it. Emma's new arm is stronger than her old one. The bones are denser. The muscles are more efficient. It's like her body used this chance to upgrade itself." The alien doctors were amazed. Many of them had advanced medical technology that could replace lost limbs with artificial ones. Some could even clone new body parts in labs. But natural regeneration like this, that was something new. "We need samples," one alien doctor said. "We need to study human DNA. We need to update our teaching methods," another added. "We need to learn everything about human biology," a third chimed in. Dr. Wilson smiled. "That's why I'm here. We're going to create the first complete database of human cellular regeneration. Every case, every detail, every change will be recorded and shared." The excitement in the room was electric. Students were already pulling out their tablets, ready to take notes. Doctors were sending messages to their homeworlds, spreading the news about this medical breakthrough. Emma raised her hand, her new right hand, to ask a question. "What does this mean for the future of medicine?" Dr. Wilson looked at her new arm, then at the room full of eager alien doctors. "It means everything changes. Every medical school in the galaxy will need to learn about human biology. Every theory about healing needs to be reconsidered. Every treatment method needs to be reviewed." He turned to the whole room. "For centuries, we've been asking the wrong questions. We kept asking, how can we replace damaged parts? When we should have been asking, how can we help the body repair itself?" As the meeting continued, Emma looked around the room. Alien doctors who had once doubted her were now hanging on every word about human biology. Medical students who had watched her arm regrow were already planning new research projects. The age of traditional alien medicine was over. A new era of healing was about to begin, and it all started because she lost an arm in an accident. The new human biology wing of the Galactic Medical Academy shone in the morning light. Its walls were specially designed to be comfortable for both humans and aliens. The temperature changed in each room to match what different species needed, and the lights adjusted automatically to suit everyone's eyes. Emma stood at the entrance, watching students flow into the building. There were humans teaching aliens, and aliens teaching humans. Everyone was learning from each other. It was exactly what she had hoped for. "Ready for the big day?" Dr. Blue asked, floating next to her. His blue glow was extra bright today, a sign of excitement among his people. "Ready," Emma said, touching her new right arm. 6 months had passed since it grew back, and now she could barely tell it apart from her left arm. "Let's make history." They walked into the main laboratory, where their new research team was waiting. The team was special. It was the first one ever to have humans and aliens working together as equals. There were doctors from Earth, scientists from distant galaxies, and students from worlds Emma had never even heard of. Today, Emma announced to the team, "We start something new. We're going to combine human regeneration with alien healing technologies." The laboratory was filled with amazing equipment. Some came from Earth, but most came from alien worlds. There were machines that could see inside cells, devices that could speed up healing, and computers that could predict how different species would react to treatments. Tom, the human student who had helped Emma after her accident, was now one of her top assistants. He brought out their first test subject, a small piece of tissue that contained both human and alien cells. "If this works," Tom said, "we could help everyone heal better. Not just humans, but every species in the galaxy." The team worked all day, carefully watching how the cells behaved. The alien scientists were amazed by how human cells could rebuild themselves. The human doctors were impressed by how alien technology could guide and support the healing process. Late in the afternoon, they had their first success. Under the microscope, they could see human cells teaching alien cells how to regenerate. It was like the human cells were showing their alien neighbors a new trick. "Look at this." Dr. Blue's excitement made him glow so bright that they had to dim the room's lights. "The cells are working together. They're healing in ways we've never seen before." Emma smiled. This was just the beginning. Soon, they would try helping patients heal from injuries that would have been permanent before. The list of volunteers was already long. Beings from all over the galaxy wanted to be part of this breakthrough. That evening, as most of the team headed home, Emma stayed in the lab with Dr. Blue. They were setting up their next big experiment, the first trial of combined human-alien healing on a living patient. "Did you ever think," Emma asked, "that losing my arm would lead to all this?" Dr. Blue's glow softened to a gentle blue. "Sometimes the best discoveries come from accidents, but it wasn't just the accident. It was what we did after. We worked together. We learned from each other. That's what made this possible." Looking around the lab, Emma saw the future of medicine taking shape. On one table, human stem cells were helping repair alien tissue. On another, alien technology was making human healing even better. In every corner, centuries of separate medical knowledge were finally coming together. A young alien student poked her head into the lab. "Dr. Thompson, can I ask you something about human cell regeneration?" "Of course," Emma said. "That's why we're here, to learn from each other." As she began explaining human biology to the curious student, Emma realized something important. The real breakthrough wasn't just about healing bodies. It was about healing the gap between species, about showing that everyone in the galaxy had something to teach and something to learn. The accident that took her arm had opened a door, and now there was no closing it. The future of medicine would be built on cooperation, on sharing knowledge across the stars, on bringing the best of every world together to help everyone heal better. 1 year after Emma's arm grew back, the Galactic Medical Academy was solving medical problems that had stumped doctors for centuries. The combination of human regeneration and alien technology was more powerful than anyone had imagined. Emma walked through the new treatment wing, stopping to check on patients. In one room, a Martian was growing back a lost tail, something that had never been possible before. In another, a human was healing from a serious burn in just days instead of weeks, thanks to alien healing technology. "Dr. Thompson," called Dr. Miller, running down the hallway with excitement. "You need to see this. Remember that problem with crystal-based life forms not being able to repair cracks? We just solved it." Emma followed him to a special lab where they treated silicon-based life forms. Inside a protective chamber, a crystalline being sparkled under healing lights. Where there had once been a deep crack in its structure, new crystal was growing, perfectly matched to the old pattern. "We use what we learned from human bone regeneration," Dr. Miller explained. "Combined it with some Centaurian energy fields, and now they can heal just like we do." Dr. Blue floated in, his glow bright with excitement. "And that's not all," he said. The Thomson Blue Center is opening 3 new research branches today. The Thomson Blue Center for Regenerative Studies had become famous across the galaxy. It was where human and alien doctors worked together to solve the hardest medical problems. Every day, they found new ways to help different species heal. Emma sat down at her desk, looking at the latest research results. Her tablet was full of success stories: a gas-based life form that could now repair its own atmosphere, a plant species that had learned to regrow damaged roots, and even a colony of space-dwelling creatures that could fix tears in their solar-collecting wings. Dr. Thomson, called Tom, now a full doctor himself. The first batch of combined stem cell treatment is ready. This was something special: human stem cells modified with alien biotechnology. They could adapt to almost any species, helping them heal in ways their bodies had never managed before. It was Dr. Miller's biggest breakthrough yet. In the main treatment room, doctors were preparing to use the new cells for the first time. The patient was a young alien who had never been able to heal properly from an old injury. Everyone watched as Dr. Miller carefully administered the treatment. "Now we wait," he said, but he didn't have to wait long. Within hours, the patient's injury began to heal. The alien doctors in the room changed colors with excitement, their species' way of showing joy. Later that day, Emma had a meeting with the Galactic Medical Council via hologram. The council chamber appeared in her office, filled with representatives from thousands of worlds. "Earth has become the leading center for medical research in the galaxy," announced the council head, "a being made of pure energy. The techniques developed at the Thomson Blue Center have helped solve medical problems on over 500 worlds." Emma thought about how it all started, with an accident that seemed terrible at the time. Now that accident had led to healing breakthroughs that were helping beings across the galaxy. She looked down at her regenerated arm, then at the room full of alien council members. "We're just getting started," she said. "Every day we learn something new. Every patient teaches us something different." That evening, as the Academy's 3 moons rose in the sky, Emma watched new patients arrive from distant stars. Some came walking, others floating, and a few even teleported in. Each one brought new challenges, new problems to solve. Dr. Blue joined her by the window. "Did you see today's numbers?" he asked. "We've helped more patients this month than we used to help in a year." Emma nodded. "And each success teaches us something new." The real breakthrough wasn't just learning that humans could regenerate. It was learning that everyone could heal better if we worked together. Outside, the stars twinkled with possibility. Somewhere out there, on countless worlds, beings were healing in ways they never could before. And it all started because one human's arm grew back. 2 years had passed since Emma's accident, and the Galactic Medical Academy looked very different now. Her regenerated arm had become a symbol of hope, displayed in holograms throughout the medical community. It reminded everyone that the impossible could become possible. Today was graduation day for the first class of doctors trained in human regenerative medicine. The ceremony hall was packed with beings from across the galaxy. Some floated near the ceiling, others sat in special chairs designed for their unique bodies, and a few existed as pure energy, glowing softly in the corners. Emma stood at the podium, looking out at the graduating class. There were humans and aliens sitting together, all wearing the Academy's white medical robes. Dr. Blue floated beside her, his blue glow matching the ceremonial lights. 2 years ago, Emma began, I lost my arm in an accident right here at this academy. Back then, everyone thought that was the end of my career as a doctor. She held up her regenerated right arm, moving her fingers to show how perfectly it worked. Instead, it was just the beginning. That accident taught us all something important. There's always more to learn, even about things we think we understand completely. The graduating class watched intently. Many of them had been there that day when her arm was growing back. Some had helped document the process, while others had used what they learned to develop new treatments. Dr. Miller stood up from his seat in the front row. And now, he announced, Earth has been chosen to lead the Galactic Medical Council. For the first time in history, a young species will guide the future of medicine. The news spread through the room like a wave. Aliens changed colors with excitement, created happy sound patterns, or glowed brighter. Humans clapped and cheered. It was a huge honor. Earth would now help shape medical science across the galaxy. After the ceremony, Emma walked through the Academy's halls with Tom, who was now a senior researcher. The walls showed moving images of their greatest successes: the first alien to regrow lost limbs, the first human healed by alien technology, and countless other medical breakthroughs. "Remember when you helped me right after the accident?" Emma asked Tom. "Did you ever think we'd end up here?" Tom laughed. "Never. I was just trying to stop the bleeding. Now look at us. We're teaching the galaxy how to heal itself." They reached the new research wing, where Dr. Blue was working with a group of students. They were testing a new treatment that combined human stem cells with energy fields from 5 different alien species. On the screens, they could see cells healing in ways that would have seemed magical 2 years ago. "The best part," Dr. Blue said, his glow pulsing with pride, "is that we're just getting started. Every day, we learn something new from each other. Every species brings something special to our understanding of healing." Later that evening, Emma stood in her old lecture hall, the same room where she had lost her arm. It was different now, filled with advanced medical equipment from 100 worlds. But the basic thing that happened there remained the same: people learning from each other. A young alien student approached her, carrying a tablet. "Dr. Thompson," they said, "I've been studying your case. It wasn't just your arm that grew back, was it? You helped the whole galaxy grow too." Emma smiled. The student was right. Her accident had done more than just prove humans could regenerate. It had broken down walls between species, challenged old beliefs, and shown that the best way forward was to work together. As she left the Academy that night, Emma looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, on countless worlds, doctors were using what they had learned here. Beings who once thought they could never heal were growing stronger. Species that had been separate for millennia were working together. Her regenerated arm had become more than just a medical miracle. It was a reminder that sometimes the best discoveries come from accidents, that impossible things become possible when people work together, and that there's always more to learn, even about ourselves. The future of medicine was no longer about one species or one way of healing. It was about bringing together the best of everything, about learning from each other, and about believing that anything was possible.